chapter begins with a quick discussion on how do we name this civilization. For the longest time, it was called the Indus Valley Civilization because most of the early sites were found along the river Indus. But in recent decades, we have found many more large Harappan sites which are very far away from the Indus Valley. Scholars have now argued that Indus Valley civilization is a very narrow definition of the extent of the civilization, and they have mostly now chosen to call it the Harappan civilization after the first site which was discovered. We also know of many pre or early Harappan cultures in the same geographical region as where we find the Harappan sites as well. As archaeologists have studied these sites further, many of these cultures prior to the mature Harappan phase have thrown up unique pottery and artifacts. So definitely they cannot be classified as the Harappan civilization sites, since their artifacts are quite different from that of the mature Harappan phase. These sites also show very small settlements and almost no large buildings, which come to classify or represent the mature Harappan phase. We also have a lot of evidence of abandonment of these early sites, and when we look at a lot of fires, and maybe the sites were just burnt down to be resettled again. We then move on to subsistence strategies and quickly look at a list of important crops and animals which were consumed as food. So we have archaeobotanists who have studied plant remains and have told us that there have been remains of charred grain and seeds like barley, millets, wheat, lentils, sesame, and chickpea. But rice finds are quite rare. Even if you look at agricultural practices today in the Punjab and Sindh region, it's largely wheat that is cultivated, not so much rice. Uh, Regarding animal food, zoologists tell us that they have found bones of cattle, goat, buffalo, sheep, pig, fish, and fowl bones. They've also found bones of wild species such as boar, deer, and gharial. Now, how do we know that they may have been used for food? Archaeozoologists tell us that when they look at the cut marks on the bones, that gives them a hint as to whether these were eaten or they were just hunted for sport. When we come to agricultural technology, since the Harappan civilization seems to have been largely agrarian in nature, much of the information is largely extrapolated. So whether the seeds were hand sown or were they broadcast, we can't really say. But we definitely have seals which show bulls and oxen, which were probably used to plow the soil. We definitely have evidence of the plow in the form of terracotta toy plows found in many of the Harappan sites. We also have evidence of plowed field in Kalibangan, um, and we have two sets of furrows in Kalibangan cutting each other at right angles, which hint at double cropping. That is, they were perhaps growing two crops at the same time on the same piece of land. Then we come to irrigation. We have remains of canals in Shortughai, Afghanistan, but we have none in Punjab. So either those canals are lost to us because of silting over, or maybe they used well irrigation, or perhaps the large network of rivers in this region perhaps was enough to irrigate all the fields. We've also found evidence of reservoirs in Dholavira. So perhaps tank irrigation or reservoir irrigation was also popular in some of the more arid regions of the Harappan civilization. Again, as far as harvesting tools are concerned, we can only guess because we've not found any remains of sickles. So perhaps they were using stone blades set in wooden handles